Good evening. We got an impromptu repair, 2006 Chevy 2500. It's actually my father-in-law's pickup. He drove through the yard the other day and he's like, hey, look underneath my truck once, and I could see a constant drip. We were dripping transmission fluid. So based on where it was coming from and how cold it was outside, I didn't roll underneath, but I assume it's a rub-through line. So we're gonna pull that in. Also, when I was driving it here, I did notice a vibration and a click when I would go from a coast to an accelerate again. So I believe we have a U-joint out as well. So we're gonna check everything over and get rid of that vibration and get rid of that leak. Well, my hunch was correct. So, see that bottom part of the yoke right here? Got a lot of play in there. That would be the reason for the vibration. Well, upon a visual inspection here, looking, and I was like, you know, I remember when I put the transmission in this truck, I thought I put new lines on, and I would be accurate in assuming that. There's even a little bracket to hold them apart so they don't rub, and I even labeled them so I can tell you where they go, and thought I did a super duper job. And then you look at all this mess that I have now, and yeah, some guy didn't finish the job apparently. Yeah, I don't know who that would be. Some idiot. But anyway, so it rubbed through one of those nice braided lines, so now I get to replace it. And that's gonna be easy job, but a stupid redundant job that didn't have to happen if I would have just, you know, paid attention. Good morning. I'm gonna take a can of brake clean and spray off and try and get some of this transmission fluid out of here so I can see what I'm working on and figure out which line's bad. Then I'm going to take it off and go to the local Tractor Central and have them make me a new hose. So I'll take the fittings and everything with me. Just got to have them cut a new hose and we'll be ready to rock. Just going to be a hydraulic line. Well, I figured out it's the line to the cooler, so I'm going to, I think it's a 3/4 inch wrench to unbolt the fitting from the side of the transmission. Then I have a couple zip ties, and then I had this clamp that came with the kit that I had purchased back in the day to hold the two lines together without rubbing, so that's just an Allen head. So we're gonna get all those things out of there, get that one line out, and go get it fit. To get at the side of this cooler, I'm going to pop this cover off and get the grill out of here so I have easier access to get in and get at them fittings. I'm going to put it back up in the air, sweep some floor dry on this so it don't stain my floor too bad. Then I'm going to go to the auto parts store, grab a U-joint, and then get a new line made, and we'll be off and rolling. Then I'm going to give this thing a well-needed bath, see if there's anything else that needs attending to. All right, so we got our new line made. They ended up having to, just because I had such a unique, it was a 180 that came around. They didn't have that, so they just grabbed a regular 90, which I said was all right. They gave me a little extra hose. I think I'm gonna run it a little different, but I believe that the fittings are correct. I'm gonna try and snake this thing up from the bottom, get it up, at least in the general area, make my life a little easier, hook it up to the top, start securing it, and then take the path all the way back to the transmission, and hopefully do a better job this time of routing it where it won't get pinched by the steering. I think we got her where we need to. Just trying to avoid that that hood latch, but we'll do some securing, clamp these two together again and make sure that it's not going to rub anywhere that it shouldn't. Make sure our grill fits fine, and yeah, don't have to look the prettiest. It just needs to be functional and not cause any issues. I have this roughly connected. I'm gonna make sure that we got enough length and go back to the bottom and connect it to the transmission, and then we'll work our way back up securing the line. Need to put a 90 on there. I forgot to do that before I threw it on, but it's just off the old line, just to get this where we need it. It's kind of a pain to get to, but we had to get to this fitting right there, if you can see that. Back with this guy here, so we're going to try to tighten it up and get it so that it won't touch this hood latch. It looks like this is the only option, is where we are at. So we're going to try to keep it about like so, if I can get it there. Don't need to be extremely tight. This is aluminum, so speaking from experience, you can twist them out pretty easy. Aluminum is a soft metal, and these are a beveled fitting, so they do not need to be wrenched tight. Yeah, we'll use this little guy here. Everything here is pretty soft. Not hitting any sharp edges. I'll just pull these two hoses together. And that'll be it for this one. Okay. Now we fire it up and see if there's any leaks. Obviously this thing was leaking, so we want to check the fluid right before we're done. I don't know how much leaked out. I know I added some earlier, so I think we're going to be pretty close. It wasn't pouring out, but It was a constant drip, so I just want to make sure everything's topped off and good to go. We are good to go. Now I'm just going to throw the grill back in and this cover back on. Let's hope it fits and doesn't hit that line. I think we'll be all right. Now we got to try to do the U-joint. Now we just got to grab an 11mm wrench or a swivel socket on a 1/4" drive, depending on how easy they come out. We're going to take those U-joint straps off, pull the drive shaft out. We're going to try and get that old U-joint out of there and get the new one in. So something that I always seem to forget every time I do a U-joint, how hard it is to get at these when the drive shaft doesn't turn. And because I'm not in neutral, I need to crawl back in the truck and put it in neutral so I can spin this thing around and get these bolts out. Much better. We'll kind of turn this thing around, but we'll see if these come loose. Oh yeah, kind of a pain. Dirty. Okay, one guy out. Oof. She's toast. That would be the vibration. Now sometimes these are fun to get out of here, but this one doesn't look terrible. It's been replaced before. The factory ones do not come with a grease zerk on them, and this one has. So somebody's had it out at some point. Let's hope it comes out of there. I'm gonna grab a pry bar real quick. Get in here and top it. There we go. Super easy. Yeah. Now, pull this thing out of the transfer case. There you go. Out. The front one feels real good. That one's also been replaced, but look at that, even the cap came off, but I can feel it. Oof. One side is toast. Here, check this out. You can see all this like light colored brown. So these are all needle bearings in here that ride in these caps, and when they lose grease or aren't greased, or just get old, they rust and it dries out in there, and then they get loose and the needles fall apart. But that's all rust dust. So if you watch, very bad. She's toast, but that's okay. U-joints are normally very affordable and easy to replace. Well, first order of business is going to be to get these clips out that contain this cap. There's just a clip here. I don't know how this is possible, but in the last 2 weeks, I've managed to lose like 4 pairs of needle nose pliers. So the closest thing we got is a needle nose vice grip. But I will tell you, I just tried to pop that out of the other side, or squeeze it, and part of it broke. So it's going to be a fun one. We'll try this side, but I have a bad feeling it might be the same thing. If I can get on it here. Nails on a chalkboard, huh? This always reminds me when I go to the dentist. God, I hate that noise, and they're scratching on your teeth. Ooh. Yep, it is stiff. So, we're gonna chuck this thing up in the vise here and see if we can get in there and move it around. Take it is to start at an edge and start working your way. I can see that one moving already. I'm guessing it's going to come out in pieces. Well, the good news is about a joint like this, and that this one is so destroyed, I should be able to push it that way. I should be able to push the whole thing down. I only need to get one of them out technically. And then I'll be able to give myself a little room when that cap goes down. So my next move is going to be to use a little brute force with Big Red here, and we're going to see if we can pop them out. First thing we want to do is just make sure that these grooves are clean where you just took them rings out, because the more stuff that gets caught in there, the harder it's going to be to get out. And my hydraulic press is down right now, so we're just gonna try to figure out the combination of bushings and sockets here to knock it out. But should be able to get it to move a little bit. First round I'm just going to use, it's just a 19 mil socket. Tell you what, these Harbor Freight Pittsburgh sockets have taken a lot of abuse from me over the years, so. That's moving already. So we're probably going to be flush on the bottom. Yep, so now, it's the tricky part. You got to get yourself something bigger in circumference than the base of this U-joint to hold this off the ground and suspend it so you can hit it from the backside and pound it out. So now I'm going to go on a little scavenger hunt and try to find some bushings. I didn't find exactly what I was looking for, but I do have, I believe it's 1 1/4 inch, some old socket I found from the random drawer. So it does fit. So we're going to put this here, hopefully get it as close to centered as possible. And we're going to start beating the life out of the other side here and see if it'll work its way out. Caps are falling, so now I'm going to try to get a vice grip or a channel lock and wiggle this guy out of here, and that should give us enough flexibility to then push the U-joint back through and get the other cap out. This is the side that was toast. Yeah, there's no grease left in there, just a lot of dust, whatever's left of needle bearings. Shiny. Not good. So now you pound that one out the other way. So that piece of clip came out. Now we got to pound down on this. It'll drive that other cap out the back. Time to clean them out and install a new U-joint. There you go. Second cap is out. Also dry as a bone. This guy should basically just fall out of here now. Close, I got a seal on here. There we go. There's your old universal and a grease zerk. Now, we grab the new one. There were about 4 different options at the hardware store, or parts store. So we'll see. This is what he claims to be the most popular. Also has a grease zerk on it. Good. New clips. Good, because those other ones are toast. By golly. We will take that all day, every day. I believe that is accurate. You got her. Looks good to me. Jesus. Yeah. So, if you'll notice, round, 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 not so round. He's been out for a while. So when I would drive the truck, I always thought it was a piece of plastic that would flap. I hadn't drove that much, but when you'd decelerate and then go back into it, it would just click and bang. Every once in a while you'd hear it, and that's because that play in there would grab the corners of that U-joint. So there was no needle bearings left. So it was time, but this should make it drive immensely better. Next plan of attack, we got to get this nice and clean before we start pressing the new stuff in there, and then we got to lube it up real good because you can damage these putting them back in. All right, so what I like to do to clean these up real quick is I take the same size socket that I was using to pound the old caps out. I wrap it in some sandpaper. In this case, it's 240. Put it in here and give it a couple of spins and help polish up the edges real good. Do both sides like that. Make sure there's no burrs or anything hanging from when I was beating on it. Shine that up real good. Then we take a pick, nice little hook on the end, and make sure that that groove where that new snap ring is going to sit is nice and clean. So that likes to hold a lot of stuff as well. Flip her over, other side. Okay, so the damage is already done. My hands are filthy. So we are going to look like the Tin Man. I like to put a little bit of something in there because I know the guy that'll probably have to work on this thing again someday. Anyways, and it just helps lube this up so that we can push them in a lot easier. I definitely used way too much, but this is like a brand new bottle, so it's hard to... You could also just use wheel bearing grease, but this was on the shelf and I grabbed it and should last a little longer, but okay. Now we want the grease zerk exposed. Set up like this. So first we just got to do it in reverse order. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take one of these caps off and we're going to push one from the... Oh, I guess we push them from the inside, so we should be okay to push this one in real quick. Hoping it goes in easy. There you go. A little swing. Okay. So we just basically kitty cornered that in there. So you got the top cap secured. Put this in the opening where you have some play. We'll snug it in that way. Now we're going to flip it over. Pound that second cap in from the top. Be careful because sometimes these little needles, there's enough grease in there that they typically will stay to the outside, but got to make sure these things can fall out, especially when you're pounding them down. So you'll know if one of them falls out because it won't seat in far enough to put the snap ring in, but keep it straight and one good smack. Pound that one a little further than you would, and we can throw the snap ring in there. Hopefully, these are handy dandy vice grips here. Drives me nuts. I'm gonna have to figure out what happened to all them other ones. But okay, should kind of sit in a groove here. I think it's in too far. It'll probably snap in where it belongs when I start pounding it back the other way, but there we go. Sometimes you just got to make sure that that's in where you want it. Give it one of them. It is a spring, so it helps itself along, but we're locked in there. Oh! Try to not itch my nose, and you bet your ass my nose itches with that hand. Okay. Now, tap this guy back. Probably should use a socket on him. You don't want to dent that cap. Okay, looks like we're seated down far enough. Throw another clip in. There you go. Kind of give it a tap, make sure it's in the groove. Okay. Now, wow, that's going to be a dirty bugger. Oh, I knew better, and I did it anyways. So I did have to give this thing a couple extra taps, so it was a little bit stiff here. So when I had drove it down to get that second clip in, I actually gave a little too much pressure on this side. And you always want this thing to, you know, there shouldn't be any play, but you shouldn't have to, you know, wrench it over. So I just gave this thing a couple taps, and now I feel like it's centered. It's exactly where it needs to be. Now we throw this end back in the back of the transfer case and get the rear end lined up to get back on these U-joints, throw our straps on, and we'll call this done. All right, so put this thing back in the back of the transfer case here. Just lines up, put about a little teeth in there and groove it up. And there you go. Okay, that's done. Now over on this end here. Oh, I got it all twisted up here. But you can tell we're not where we need to be, but since we're in neutral, turn this where we want. Make sure this is cleaned out real good. I had gone and grabbed them earlier. Perfect, there's a little bump here. Make sure you're centered on both. But we're good to go. Now we just get to throw our straps back on. Okay. There you go. That should be a lot better. Perfect. No play in that joint at all. I like it. So today's video is brought to you by Dawn Dish Soap. Honestly, it's unbelievable. All the products I've tried and everything else. You get grease and stuff like that, and in this case anti-seize on your hands, there's literally nothing that works better. And it's cheap, so I use a lot of it. You can either clean the ducts or you can clean a mechanic's hands, I guess. Well, a little bit left, but I'm gonna wash my hands about 8 more times today anyways. Call that a win. Nice and clean. I'm gonna give the truck a bath. Well, I didn't bother washing the bed too hard because he can keep all that extra hay. I don't want that in my drain, but overall, can't complain. The thing still cleans up pretty good. I always liked this color. It was unique. I don't see a lot of them out there like this. There's reds and there's burgundies, and then there's in between. So, cleans up super good yet. Nice looking work truck. Now we got new transmission line and a new U-joint.